playing the role of a girl.
My agent says to write down all the info about every audition I do, including the names of everyone I met, what I wore, and the good and bad things I did. So today was my first audition. Only 4 weeks after I got an agent, too. Mom's been trying to find acting classes for a year now, and she found 2 commercial workshops for kids. I guess I got better because when the last workshop finished, a month ago, they had an agent's night and I got an agent named Janet Loomis, who's supposed to be pretty good. We're not a big town, I've got to learn to think market, to sound like a professional, but she's supposed to be the top children's agent around. She said that I showed good potential, and would do her best to get me to work. That means first getting my headshots, which are the 8 by 10-inch photos that advertise actors. Mom complained about the cost of a photographer, but Ms. Loomis could get us a discount. Next, Ms. Loomis said they'd be posted online at places like Actors Access for casting directors looking for my demographic, which means my age, ethnicity, and so on. So many new words and processes to learn, but it could be my future, I hope. Ms. Loomis seems nice to me, but she's very professional and doesn't play games, and tells the truth even if it's hard. She told Mom and me that it would be hard to fit in because I'm small for my age. I'm 12, but it kind of looks like I'm 8 or 10. She said in the long run it could be an asset because I could play a wider age range, but when the casting calls they call them breakdowns, ask for a 12-year-old boy, I'm smaller than what they usually have in mind. I know that. I've had it all my life, always being called shrimp and runt and being last to get picked for teams. I did a school play, a classroom reading, really, where I was Sid, the prissy nemesis of Tom Sawyer. Mom loved it and said it would be our meal ticket, me acting, I mean. She's a hairdresser and we have a little trailer outside Phoenix, just the 2 of us since my father left us. Mom's made a nice little home for us and we have more room with my father gone. It's been about 2 years now, he's a truck driver and one day put all his things in the cab and drove off and we haven't heard since. I sometimes think it was because I was a shrimp. But acting's fun and I don't know if I want to be an actor when I grow up because I haven't done anything real, yet. Until today, when I had my first audition. So. My first audition. DAP Studios. Casting director, CD, was Erin something, sorry I didn't get her last name, for Lewin Prods. Read for boy, for Mattel. I forgot to slate, where you say your name and age. So mad because I always did it right in the workshop. April 17th. 12 isn't 12. American Dance Studio. CD, Beverly Henderson for Phoenix Chamber of Commerce, red boy in this tourist commercial. Looked at the park too far off camera, I was told to cheat. It means to turn your head a bit so the camera can see more of your face. Blue work shirt and khakis. CD said I had a good look, but they want somebody older. I asked, didn't it say 12, and she said, somebody that looks 12. I knew what she meant, 12 like the boys in my school who already were bigger and bulkier than me. Janet was right. Sides. American Dance Studio. CD, Erin Green, same as the first one, got her name this time, for Hasbro Toys. They wanted to fax the sides, the pages of the script that I use in the audition, but we don't have a fax machine so we had to go to Kinko's to get them. Mom was bugged that we had to pay for the pages. Read active boy, and she liked my energy and said she'd talk to my agent. Blue work shirt and khakis. May 3rd. Losing my agent. My agent, Ms. Loomis, called Mom and me into her office and said that the feedback she was getting was that I looked good on camera, was professional even though nobody's hired me, but was smaller than what the breakdowns call for. I'd have this over and over unless I started growing or bulking up. And I've already tried eating bulkier foods like the other boys in my class, but I just feel bloated. Mom yelled at Ms. Loomis that she didn't know how to represent me and that if she, Ms. Loomis, didn't find something soon, she was changing agents. Mom yelled that I had talent and was beautiful, and what was wrong with these people, anyway? I didn't like the beautiful thing too much. I really didn't like Mom yelling, but I know she was worried about protecting me. Ms. Loomis said she was sorry, and since we hadn't signed anything, we could part ways, and Mom was certainly free to get another agent for me. Somehow I don't think that's going to be easy. Mom stormed out of the office and knocked over a display of headshots on the way out. I think Ms. Loomis might spread the word around that Mom is kind of high-strung. That's what my father called her, anyway. On the drive home she kept muttering to herself about these people not knowing talent if they fell over it, and I was their ticket out of there. If she meant the trailer or Phoenix, I don't know. I only have a month of school left, so going somewhere might be nice. June 13th. Nothing's happening. Mom's still in a crabby mood. The phone hasn't rung once from Ms. Loomis or any of the other agents that we sent headshots. I guess my acting career is over. School's over, too, so I'm lying around the house a lot. I only put this entry in to say that, well, nothing's happening. June 22nd. Aaron Green again. Wow. News. I mean, acting news. The casting director Aaron Green sounds like a fake name to me, but that's probably a Hollywood thing. Called Ms. Loomis to ask about me, and Ms. Loomis gave her our phone number and said she didn't want anything to do with me and Ms. Green was on her own. Probably figured it was another little kid Hasbro commercial. It turned out to be a TV show. Ms. Green called to have me come into the DAP studio and read for a little kid in the family. She warned me that I was supposed to be about 10, my character, I mean, so not to be offended because actors worked at all ages, younger, older, and I told her I'd learned that. She left a number for Mom to call. June 24th. Reading for Matt. Back to audition journal time. DAP Studios. CD, Aaron Green for Ticonderoga Prods. Read Matt, 10 to 12, and it was really neat. It wasn't like having a great time with the Hasbro toy or pretending to enjoy the park. It was a real reading, with lines, and I had a scene with Ms. Green reading the part of my mother, in the show, telling me we were leaving our house and everything behind. It's a show about a family that has to go on the run from bad guys, so it's a dad and mom and big brother Brian and little brother Matthew. She seemed to like what I did. The blue work shirt, khakis. Of course, on the way home, Mom said, "Finally we meet somebody who knows you're talented." June 26th. Got a call back. Mom got a call and we're going back to DAP for a callback, exactly what it sounds like. Same clothes. This time I read with 2 older boys for the part of my big brother Brian. It went okay with one of them, but really good with another guy, Stuart. I didn't get his last name, but I guess there was this brother connection, although I never had a brother. July 2nd. Callbacks. Wow, and double wow. We're going to Hollywood like they used to say on American Idol that Mom watches all the time. My callback led to another callback, and they told me that if they like me there might even be another 1 or 2 callbacks. I don't mind, I really like this kind of acting, it's so much better than holding up the toy for the camera, although at this point I'd like to do any kind of acting. July 5th. A plane and a black car. Flew out of Sky Harbor for the first time, incredible. I love flying. We were given a neat room at the Marriott Courtyard in Burbank, by the airport. Imagine, us in a Marriott. Mom sniffed that it was the least they could do since I was saving their butts. I'm not sure how, but that's just Mom. A black car took us to a studio, a real, genuine movie studio, and we went through like we belonged there. Well, I guess we did, for the callback. So I read another scene with a guy playing my father, and another with a mother, and then 2 brothers again, one of which was Stuart, but it didn't go as well this time. I don't know if the clothing matters anymore since they gave me some things to wear and filmed it. July 7th. Tony and pilots. Mom and I were called to the studio and Mom met with them for a long time behind closed doors. I was shown to a kind of video arcade room with big couches and a popcorn machine and soda machine that gave you sodas for free. But I'd been warned that it would take a while, so I brought a book, one of the new Urban Vampire, things that are pretty cool. The guy I read with, the one that wasn't Stuart, came in. I'd missed his name before, but he said it was Tony Cantrell. He seemed okay, but a little odd, somehow. July 18th. He asked me how old I was and didn't believe it when I said 13 this month and said I was too pretty for 12. I didn't know what to make of it, but I wondered if he was a fairy like the boys call Kevin back in Phoenix. Then a nice lady in black, I learned that she was a PA, short for production assistant, came and brought me into the room. I got the feeling they liked seeing me but had been angry at Mom. She can be tough to deal with. I know this, I've learned to sort of tune her out when she gets in her moods. She'll go on and on about they and people like us and nobody's gonna keep us down. She mostly talks to herself, so I just sit quietly and read. So these guys asked me a bunch of questions and it turns out that they were going to have legal draw up the papers, which means they want to hire me. I'm going to be Matt. On a real TV show. Well, it's what they call a pilot, and if it sells, then it'll be a regular show on TV. They said there used to be one part of the year that they called pilot season when they were all made, but some recent strikes had shaken up the industry so much that they now made pilots as soon as they could put them together. Since this show was going to have 2 kids, the brothers, it helped them to shoot during the summer when there wasn't a conflict with schools. I decided then and there that I was going to learn as much as I can about this new world of TV acting, and the whole business of it. Mom and I went out to celebrate and the studio made arrangements for us to go to Universal Studios to do the whole park for free. Then we ate at the Hard Rock Cafe and Mom told me about some of the bands and musicians that had posters and mementos on the wall, and then we went back to the courtyard. Mom did say one kind of funny thing, though in a mean sort of way, since Janet Loomis washed her hands of us she wasn't going to get a dime from the studio or us, which meant more money for us. I wish Mom wouldn't obsess over money so much. It makes her mean. July 9th. First day of work. We started work on the pilot today. I met my new family. My father, Mark Butler, is played by a big movie star, Blake Connor. Mom said he's hit hard times because his last few movies tanked, and he seemed kind of like he was above all this, but maybe it's because it was just the first day. My mother is played by Dale Considine, a nice lady that I've seen before but doesn't remember when. I didn't tell her that last part. The fact that I didn't remember made me decide that I was going to start studying the Internet Movie Database, IMDb, something I just learned about. My brother Brian is played by Tony Cantrell, who was the guy I talked to in the video room at the studio. Then there's the FBI guy that keeps covering for the family. He's played by a black guy named Damian Curtis. We all met and had a table read where we were handed scripts and started working. It all seemed like it was going really well, and then we got to the middle of the pilot script and took a lunch break. I've always been a fast reader, so I looked at the next few pages, because it was getting kind of suspenseful, and I saw that things were very different for my character. I found the head writer spooning macaroni salad and working on his laptop in a corner. He kind of looked like the typical shaggy grad student that I'd seen in a lot of movies, but with sharp brown eyes. I asked him about Matt. He confirmed that I'd read it right.
Yeah.
The family has to break up their pattern, so they disguise Matt as a girl. Why Matt? What about Brian? Too big. Nobody would believe it. I mean,
Yeah.
he's gay but too straight. My brother is gay? I was confused. No, your brother Brian is straight, the actor Tony is gay. Didn't you know? Can't you tell? I thought for a second because I didn't want to look like a little kid. Oh,
Yeah.
Tony's gay, sure. In fact, the first time we met he said I was. He said I was pretty. I felt a weird squirm when I said that. The writer, his name is Steve Cresswell, and apparently, he's a name writer. I really gotta get to IMDb fast. Nodded but was still serious. I'm not gay, but he's right, you are pretty. I must have made a face because he went on in a hurry. For a boy. I mean, look at guys like Rob Lowe and, I can't think of his name, but they were really kind of pretty when they were kids and grew up looking rugged and handsome. Then you get Patrick Dempsey, who was kind of a homely kid with a big nose and grew up looking rugged and handsome. Danny Bonaduce, cute kid actor who grew up kind of scary looking, although that's probably steroids. Oh, man, I've seen him, you're right. I laughed. Steve chuckled at the image. Anyway, there was a great show that got cancelled too early, called The Riches. Ever seen it? On Showtime? No, sorry. We didn't have cable. I just realized it was on the air before your time. Anyway, it was about a family of con artists and he stared at me. You didn't have cable? Not even basic cable? I shook my head. Nope. It was really expensive and we couldn't afford it. And I'm not sure they even ran cables out to our trailer park. Trailer park, he gave me a look. Are you serious? Sure, I shrugged, and for some reason got a little defensive. A lot of people live in trailer parks. Hilary Swank? Oscar winner? I read that she came from a trailer park. I think it was Bellingham, Washington. I apologize. Here in LA we get kind of insulated from the rest of America sometimes. It's good that you keep things real for me, okay? He grinned. Sure, Mr. Cantrell, I smiled. You can call me Steve when it's just us or Pat. Maybe stick with the formal in front of the others. He meant Patrick Doran, the director. And it made sense to say Mr. Cantrell in public, since it was respectful for a 12-year-old. I smiled and nodded. Thanks. So, Steve, you said something about con artists? Just that the show had a boy about your age who liked to wear girls' clothes. Didn't seem to want to be a girl but liked to cross-dress. Never really resolved that question, though, before the show got cancelled. Anyway, some of the scams the family ran required him to pretend to be a girl, and I'm not kidding, you'd never know he was a boy when he was fully dressed. There was an older sister, a teenager, but she could also put on a business suit and you'd swear she was a banker in her 20s. That's part of what made the family such good cons, they didn't miss a trick. He frowned. Shame it got yanked. Anyway, I got called in and was asked if I could get some of the flavors of that show into this script, and that's how Matt came to be. Thanks for explaining, it makes a lot more sense now. But it was my turn to frown. I hate to think that I got this because I look like a pretty boy from another show, you know? I understand, but that's not it. Steve nodded again. Don't take it the wrong way, Brian. You got cast not because you're pretty, but because you can act, and you're kind of androgynous. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but it can't have escaped your notice that you're kind of shorter and more, well, shorter than most boys your age. I chuckled. Tell me about it. I was almost 10 before I discovered that my name was really Brian and not Shrimp. He laughed. See? You're funny and you're smart. The script doesn't say Matt turns gay, it only says they dress you like a girl and you have to act like one. It's like if they used makeup to disguise you to look Hispanic, or black, or even Chinese, you wouldn't worry about actually being Hispanic, or black, or Chinese, would you? No. You're absolutely right. It's the job, it's the role. Role of a lifetime, if you ask me. Well, this whole thing is an incredible chance for me, I'm just starting out. And it's really written well, but role of a lifetime? Steve nodded. You get to show your acting chops in your very first part. You can play the little brother in the family in your sleep, but you also get to show your ability to be not just the girl you're dressed as when you meet strangers, a new identity, all that. But you also will show the boy inside the dress struggling with the masquerade. There are actors, big-name guys, bigger than, well, big anyway, who would kill for a chance to play both sides. I knew that he was about to say, bigger than Blake Connor, the actor who played my father, but I let it go. Instead, I said, I never thought of it like that. Thank you for telling me, and thank you for writing it. I'll try to do the best I can with your work. Steve looked at me like a grown-up to another grown-up, for the first time in my life. Thank you very much, Brian. Only the best, truest actors think that way, to work together with the writer. It means a lot.
Yeah.
You're just a kid, he grinned, but you're going to go a long way, I can tell. But I've got to ask you, didn't you know that the breakdown called for Matt to pretend to be a girl? Surely your mother told you before you auditioned? No, I didn't. Nobody had said a thing. Now I knew that Mom had known but hadn't told me. Instead, I waved my hand and said, oh, sure, I'd forgotten originally. I just kind of misread the script and didn't know if I was pretending to be a girl or they actually changed his sex or something. He looked at me for a moment longer and then nodded. Pretending. And not gay. Cool? I grinned. Cool. But the rest of the day, I had to wonder what else I hadn't been told. And I think I'm going to keep this journal away from Mom, maybe.